Hello, good afternoon. I'm Katie O'Connell with Gaumont International Television, and I'm so pleased to be introducing you to Hemlock Grove. We're about to show you a clip with never-before-seen footage. It's going to be about 6 minutes, and then I'll introduce the panel. Thanks.
5, 6, jump, 7, 8. Woo!
Let's get cozy.
Hello, neighbor.
Anything in the perimeter?
No sign of a weapon, Sheriff.
Tracks?
No, nothing. Who's that kid?
Gypsy trash.
Have we got anything more enlightening to report from our first day at school?
There's this new kid. He's a gypsy.
Filth.
The local paper described my aunt as the most beautiful and despised woman in Hemlock Grove.
Missed you at the club the other night.
Well, your psycho mother got me fired. You're bad.
Do you see me as someone you can trust?
Yeah.
There's this kid in my school. He has a sister. I don't know what she is. She is so big, she fills up a doorway. They're the Godfreys.
The Godfreys are my business. Stay away from them.
You were going to ask me about an animal attack.
Well, we don't know what it is.
Based on subcutaneous bite patterns, I believe you can with certainty exclude from your list a suspect on 2 legs.
What did it feel like?
What did what feel like?
Killing that girl.
I didn't kill her. I figured it was you.
Me? Why would I do it?
Why would I?
People are saying you're a werewolf.
You believe every rumor you hear?
There are things that look like you and me, but they are not. Close, smile, beating heart. These things are only masks hiding the creature beneath.
I get this feeling sometimes, like something really important is about to happen.
Frightful business, this Penrose girl. Hunted down and devoured by a savage brute.
Chrissy, there's somebody I want you to meet. This is Dr. Chasseur.
The reason I wanted to speak with you is to see if you remember seeing any paw prints, any dragging marks in the leaves.
No. He didn't leave anything like that.
He?
Vargolf.
What?
A wolf will only attack if it's hungry, if it's provoked. If it's normal, a Vargolf is a wolf that's gone insane.
Insane how?
Doesn't eat what it kills.
The only logical motive for it to be left here is if it was meant to be discovered. A trophy.
I'm sorry. What kind of animal has a motive?
One that's capable of empathy.
I guess we find him now.
Why?
To make him stop.
The Vargolf is dangerous but short-lived. It's like any other disease, it only gets stronger until it consumes you.
He knows.
How much does he know?
He was there for the last turn.
The only people who really know what you are your mom and me. And I know how to button up.
I want you to think about what kind of person you want to be. I'm here because people are getting hurt. The more honest you are with me, the more it'll help me do something about it.
Run. Run before it's too late for you.
I think something's going on at the White Tower. I don't know if it's connected or not, but I can get us in.
Something's going on here. You can't act like it's not.
Oh my God.
I have to ask you to repeat nothing I tell you.
I will not have that filth in my house.
You won't get away with it, you know.
It's that Godfrey kid.
Be safe here.
How'd you do that?
Do what?
Try to protect you like any mother would protect their son.
This isn't what you think it is.
You are ugly, Roman.
It's my house, it's my money, and it always was.
Do you like me?
If you fuck my cousin, I'll kill you.
We're a family. We don't keep secrets from each other.
You can talk to me about anything.
I know why you're here.
No more girls are gonna die.
You think that monster doesn't want her too?
I need you to promise me that you'll be home before sundown.
What are you?
Do it.
Creepy. So I want to introduce our panel. Hopefully we'll have a nice lively discussion about the show and about the fact that we're premiering this on Netflix, which is an interesting and fun new format. So first, the incomparable and brilliantly talented and really twisted, our executive producer and director, Eli Roth. And also one of the best looking men in Cannes. Well, hey, what? Middle, yes. I'd also like to introduce the beautiful and magnificently talented, in our particular show, she's starring in it, but she's also a director and a writer and multifaceted, Famke Janssen. And we're also really honored and thrilled that Peter White, from the international editor of Broadcast, agreed to do this. He is not only a great moderator, or so we hope, but he's also a huge fan and a fanboy and a huge fan of the genre. So he was the perfect person to help facilitate the conversation. So Peter's going to ask some questions. We'll go through this for a little bit, and then we want to open it up to Q&A. I hope you guys have lots of good, hard questions for us. And then we do have a bonus clip that Eli will introduce right at the end that is definitely worth staying for. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Katie.
And I'm going to stay here just in case
something
happens.
And watch over us.
It's like the principal watching.
The boss has got her eye on us. So thank you for coming. And that was extremely creepy, extremely gross in parts, but
it's
look,
perfect for
look
right
brilliant.
after lunch.
Yeah, yeah,
really.
Yeah, exactly. It looks like it was. So let's start at the beginning. How did it come about? As Katie sort of mentioned there, it's debuting on Netflix, an interesting element. But you know, what sort of going back one step further, talk us through the start of Hemlock, Eli.
Yeah, producer Eric Newman, who had produced Last Exorcism and Man with the Iron Fist with, brought me the manuscript. And I had been asked to be part of television going back to my first film, Cabin Fever. Networks would always say to me, we want a horror series, or can you do Hostel, the TV series? And I thought, well, what makes horror great is that any character can die at any second. And what makes television great is that you have the characters that you love week after week you come back for. So I thought, well, I can't just keep killing my entire cast week after week. That wouldn't really work. And I didn't really know how to crack it. And then I saw the medium of television evolving and seeing shows coming out, you know, like you start seeing Boardwalk Empire and Game of Thrones, then The Walking Dead and Dexter and American Horror Story. And this manuscript came along. And it really reminded me of like a very dark, monstrous Twin Peaks. I thought it was such a smart, creative take, taking the original root mythology of werewolves, vampires, Frankenstein, and combining it in this small town America, in this Twin Peaks kind of world, which is my favorite television show. And we took it to Netflix, and they have indexes where they can tell how many people watch your movies, and they'd been looking for a horror project, so it was really just good timing. And they really got it and said, let's go right to series. And what I loved about it was they wanted to do all 13 at once and also air all 13 at once. So we really, really approached it as a 13-hour movie, and that's why we were able to get such great theatrical actors like Famke and Dougray Scott.
At which point did Famke, did you come on board, and what attracted you to it?
I was sent the script, and I had a phone call with Eli and Eric Newman, and it was, you know, I always go by material, definitely as, you know, as a rule, sort of to see, it has to be classy, it has to be good. But the entire package, of course, is very important too. And Netflix at that point had just started putting together their first show, House of Cards, with Kevin Spacey and Robin Wright and the entire cast. So, and David Fincher as a director. So already the bar was set so high, and all eyes in the business were on this company to see what they were going to do next. And this was going to be the second one out of the gate. So, of course, that really piqued my interest. Gaumont as a studio, which is such an incredible company that's been around for so long in France and so classy in what they produce. So all of the entire package, wanting to work with Eli and really being interested in you know, playing this character, was based on a novel, so I had a better idea of where those 13 episodes were going. And then at the same time, it suited my schedule very well, because 13 episodes take about 6 months of your life, and because I'm sort of going between writing, directing, and acting at the moment, it was the perfect setup. So there were just many different things.
So Eli, as Famke mentions, it's based on a book by a guy called Brian McCreevy, right? So you'd read the book, you read the manuscript, you liked it, and then I guess how do you put your twist into turning it into what we saw?
Well, when I met with Brian, you know, one thing he told me was that he wanted to be, he had a very clear mythology in the book, but we weren't going to be beholden to it, and that it really was an adaptation, that we're not just recreating what was in the book. And one of those signature moments was the werewolf transformation. I mean, for me, when I saw American Werewolf in London, like, there was nothing that freaked me out more than that. And the howling, those practical, visceral transformations, even Neil Jordan's The Company of Wolves. And then I saw in Twilight, you see like a really cute boy walks around the tree and he's like shirtless and comes out and he's like a fluffy wolf. And I was like, fuck that, I want a werewolf. I want all, there's gotta be a generation of fans that were 14 and 15, and that's all they know. So they're gonna watch this, and it's like watching a birth. It's like when you go to science class in 9th grade and you know about a birth, but you see it, you're like, ah! Like, it's the wolf bursting out, and it's visceral, and it shakes off the placenta and eats its own skin. So we wanted something that would really be beautiful and horrific, but would really, you know, fuck up an entire generation. And I want kids to go back and watch Twilight and go, that's what really happened when he went behind the tree. That's so gross. And look, I certainly enjoy those types of stories, but we wanted something that was slightly more adult. And, you know, again, doing it with Netflix, what I think is really great about what they did was they had connectivity. You know, after you watch the movie, it'll say if you like this, you can watch Cabin Fever and Hostel and Bringing Up Bobby. So people that might not have known Famke as a director can immediately watch, you know, watch her films. But more than anything, we love elevated genre. You know, Eric Newman, our partner, had produced Children of Men and the Dawn of the Dead remake. And, you know, with Famke being in the X-Men series and what I did with Hostel, we want to make, you know, we love this stuff, but we think that it can be done at an elevated artistic level. And Gaumont really, really supported that. So just in terms of the directors we chose, the way we approached the material, Lily Taylor coming on board, she's one of my favorite actors from so many great, you know, independent films. and Bill Skarsgård, and Landon LeBron, who are these fantastic young kids. So it's really, you got the great mix where you have, you know, that sort of the monster mythology, but there's this fantastic adult soap opera happening in the town.
It's funny, you said when you came out about Hostel, the TV series, and all these networks calling you up and wanting to work with you. That would never be on broadcast network television in the United States. But it seems that you're allowed to tell that story and do it the way that you want to do it because of the medium that it's on, because it's on Netflix.
Yeah, and you can see that people want their horror horrific. And I would say that this is just as much a murder mystery story and a soap opera as much as it's horror. It's not like a straight, that's why I liked it. But you can see that with The Walking Dead getting 12.5 million viewers, Evil Dead in America just opened #1 at the box office at $26 million, and it's very violent, visceral. So people want stories like this. They want their violence in Game of Thrones. So what you're seeing is a real shift where network television, they have all these standards and these rules set up, and people are going, that's fine if you want to watch one type of product, but for a story that requires where you want to see the sex, and you want to see the killing, and you want to see the violence, and you want the murder to be scary and horrible, it's what's really great about working with Netflix and with Gaumont is that you really can push the envelope in that direction.
And you alluded to earlier that because you knew you were getting 13, it gave you a different than producing television on a pilot system. So talk us a little bit about how you approached that process.
Well, one of the nice things about ordering 13 series, I mean, it was great because I was just coming off of Aftershock as an actor, and Famke was coming off of Bringing Up Bobby as a director, and both were low-budget movies. So I understood acting under low-budget constraints. She understood directing under low-budget constraints. We really, really worked well as a team. But we wanted everything to look theatrical. As you can see, the theater that you're watching this in, there are a lot of people in America that have beautiful home projection screens, and we wanted to give them something to fill the frame. I mean, my DP on the pilot was Stephen Poster, who shot Donnie Darko, and Fernando, our DP, had shot Prison Break. So everything we did was as if we were watching it in a theater, like a 13-hour movie. But the way to achieve that is something like you're shooting an episode in 8 days. Now, you can never get everything you want in 8 days. So we looked at those signature moments, like the transformation, and we thought, okay, we're going to storyboard this out, shoot a lot of it in episode 2, but then other pieces, like, okay, I want the eyeballs to fall. I don't want to ruin it. Like teeth breaking out, like vomiting your own guts. All that stuff, we were able to really, really get those pieces later on. We were still shooting the transformation while we were shooting episode 13, just getting all those little pieces, and then you can go back and edit everything at once. So there was really an advantage when you just know you're going to do 13 episodes and they don't have to air. You can shoot 2 at a time. You can really, really plan it like a movie.
You saying you spent as long producing 13 hours of television as you produced that fucked up transformation?
Yeah, no, it's true.
That's brilliant. And let's talk about the way people are going to watch these, because when it's on Netflix, all 13 will be up straight away. And as you said, you're not going to wait week on week to watch this. And some people will spend, close to 13 hours watching this. And how does that, and Famke, to you as in this world, and also to you, Eli?
I think the wonderful thing about how this is, put on by Netflix is that it's up to the viewer's discretion how and when they want to watch it. All 13 at the same time, 3 at once. I know from my own experience when I've watched House of Cards, for example, I do them in groups. I don't have 13 hours in one day to do it, but it's really nice, and it also gives you a flow that you miss when the traditional way of watching television, that, on a weekly basis, a show coming out. I think, we're so bombarded in the world that we live in today with images and, information and all of that. So a week goes by and you've kind of been taken out of whatever you've been watching, and then you try to get back into it. Whereas now it gives a viewer the opportunity to just really get into the meat of what we've been producing all together. And I think so we get a much fairer chance to really to feel the show as it was meant to be felt.
I mean, I look at it like, think of when a Harry Potter novel comes out, or Twilight. Everyone rushes to the bookstore, and everyone's like flipping through. There's always that one nut that like goes to the last page and then tweets what happens. But in general, you read it at your own pace. Now, that said, we were aware that not every territory was going to be Netflix. So we did have to arc the episodes in a way that you're going to have a cliffhanger at the end, so that you're, you know, if you were to watch it week to week, you were going to have something to hook viewers to come back to. But it really was great, and it kind of changed the way you could edit things. You know, we didn't have to have the scare of the week or the monster of the week. We really, really write a sophisticated murder mystery in this bizarre universe that we set up that unfolds week after week. But one of the things that I loved about the book was that Brian McGreevy had basically the murder of this young girl, the cheerleader, is a way into the town. And you see all the weird goings on and what's going on at the White Tower, which is constantly, people are going in and then they're coming out 6 feet electric, you know, these 7 feet monsters that glow electrostatically, which is how that 7-foot girl was created. And other people are disappearing there and coming out strange. But we wanted to build a mythology that could last for years. You know, we didn't want this to be a one-season show. We wanted something that once this is solved, it's all of a sudden, you know, by the end of it, that murder is solved, but there's a whole new other mess of problems that have begun that you can play out for multiple seasons.
Yeah,
so,
and it gave the actors really an opportunity to work on character throughout, so that we didn't just serve a plot. It wasn't every week, everything had to be wrapped up. It wasn't it's not a procedural show at all, and we all sort of we gave it the sort of Twin Peaks-esque, you know, talk beforehand of, in terms of the look you can see a little bit, and the feel, and this, you know, small town with an event happening of somebody dying, and how the entire town reacts to it, and all the intricate relationships between different class systems of people and different cultures and all of that kind of stuff.
Similar, the who killed ...
Yes.
Yeah, who killed Laura, and this would be more what killed Laura Palmer.
Yeah.
And there are so many different possibilities in this town.
Yes.
And it's great because we can also play out certain things to reveal over season 2 and season 3. Like, for example, you know, Famke's character is 150 years old. I think she looks great for 150.
Thank you.
And we're also very sorry that Bill Skarsgård couldn't be here. He's very method. He's an actual vampire, and he does sleep during the day. So you will see him at the cocktail party, but right now he's laying in his coffin of dirt.
Well, that's what
the Skarsgårds are weird, man. I think he said his brother did the same thing, and it works for him. So I don't know. I try not to ask him too much about it. That's his technique, whatever.
Famke, let's talk about your character a little bit. She seems bizarre, and without giving too much away, what is she, and what is her?
Well, Olivia is the matriarch of this family and the town, really. She is from somewhat mysterious background, and this is very much kept alive by her, as you could tell maybe from the very short, you know, moments of hearing my dialogue in the show. I speak with this sort of mid-Atlantic accent that was very much. I wanted to do it because it felt to me that we had a sense of that this woman was somewhat fabricated, and she, in the novel, it's talked about that she was an actress in her former life. So I thought that was very fitting of this, you know, this woman who's constantly dressed in white, very put together, mysterious, sort of, you know, enigmatic and weird and strange, but everybody else in the town is too. So, but she's very, you know, she's talked about a lot because people don't exactly know what she is and what she's done, but there's a lot of speculation about it. Bill Skarsgård plays my son Roman, the 7-foot monster who we saw previously with a big eyeball and wonderful attributes like that. Plays my daughter. Finding somebody who was taller than both Bill and I was a challenge because we're both so extremely tall. So we dealt with having a man sort of play the big double and a young girl for the face shot. So that was challenging to work around for Eli and the other directors. You know, then there's a lot of intrigue and complications and scenes with, you know, my husband, something happens to very early on in the story, and you find out that I'm having an affair with his brother, and who's also married with a child. So there's lots of, you know, wonderful soap opera-esque qualities to the story.
And a strange relationship with Bill's character, it seems.
Right.
Yeah, there's a very strange, I mean, because Olivia doesn't age, she's like this shark that no one really knows where she came from. And you don't know if her personality is all completely assumed, or maybe that was some actress she met or some character she played, and she decided that that's who she was going to be for the rest of her life. And she is always in character and never breaks it, so no one can really, really get through to her, and no one really knows what her agenda is, but she has slowly amassed power and has taken control of this family and is now controlling this place, the White Tower, where these experiments are going on. So nobody really knows what Olivia's full agenda is, and the town starts to wonder, maybe she's having sex with her son.
Okay, good. That's,
She's not, but we let you think that that might happen at any point in the episode.
So the eyeballs falling out, the puddle of skin, incest. So.
It's a very strange relationship. She's very close, but because she's ageless, they're starting to look closer and closer in age.
How was the process, the physical process of producing it? Was there the same note system that you might have got if you'd worked for a traditional broadcaster? And talk through the sort of process of working with Gaumont as well.
Yeah, Gaumont was a terrific studio. You know, they're really, you know, now I know they've worked with David Slade and Brian Fuller and Hannibal. They're working with Nick Refn. So they're a very, very director-friendly company. And that's what I really liked about them, that, you know, we were one of their first television projects, and they're not a traditional TV studio. So you can get the financing that you would at a Warner Brothers or a major, you know, major studio, but they really, really treat you like a director and an auteur, especially because they're French. We can use the word auteur or not, ironically. And it was great. It was a great process. You know, Netflix really, really let me run wild with it. I was, you know, I know on other networks you have to get every design approved, but I was designing the Hemlock Grove T-shirts and the logos for all the colors and all the houses and all that location. And Netflix was just so happy. They really, you know, they really charm you. They're like, well, we got David Fincher and we'd like you. And so you're like, oh, me? They're like, David Fincher and you. And they just keep saying your name next to David Fincher, and you're like, wow, I feel so special. And so then everyone, you know, they really, really are, Netflix and Gaumont are both very much filmmaker-friendly companies, and they're trying to define themselves as doing it much more like a 13-hour movie rather than traditional television, because it's really not. I mean, not in America. You know, certainly when you're making it, you're conscious of making a show that will play on television around the world. And that's really the nice thing about horror that I've really seen with Hostel and Last Exorcism and Cabin Fever. You know, whether I'm in Iceland or I'm in Brazil or I'm in Gérardmer in France, all the fans look the same. They have like the same tattoos, the same hair. Like they all try to look so individual, but they look exactly. Whether in New Jersey, the horror fans are there globally, and the appetite is so strong for this type of material. And fans have really been waiting for me to dive into something that would be a week-to-week horror series that really, really would have that payoff that they expect from me. And I wasn't going to do a series unless I could really, really give that big payoff. And Netflix and Gaumont definitely supported that.
And you were aware of the international appeal of that. That's interesting that not all American directors might have had the same approach.
No, and that's something that I learned from Tarantino. I actually remember tried to raise money for my first film, Cabin Fever. I came to Cannes Film Festival in the market in 2000 when David Lynch had Mulholland Drive here, and I was working for him, helping him produce content for davidlynch.com, his website. And we had a great time, but I saw the market, and I saw how you sell territory by territory. And Quentin's advice on Cabin Fever was go to every country and do press in every country. And I've always made it a point of pride that when I release my films internationally, I go there and I talk to the press and I'll speak that language and I speak about movies from that country because I'm a student of world cinema and I know all the obscure horror movies from New Zealand and Australia and Spain and Japan and France. Like, I love those films. So when I meet the journalists, I really, really can speak their language. And that is something that I absolutely want to do with Hemlock Grove. You know, I don't want this to just be a hit on Netflix in America. I want the show to become a global phenomenon because horror is one of the few areas where you really, really can appeal to a worldwide audience. And, you know, I'm going to be the voice. You know, obviously they love the talent and are excited about the talent that are in it. But in terms of it delivering on the horror, I'm the voice that they trust. And that's what was great about, you know, Gaumont and Netflix was they really let me go horrific with it.
Yeah. And it will launch around the world on Latin America, Scandinavia, UK.
And we have a very, very international cast. Yeah. You know, I'm Dutch. We have Bill Skarsgård, who's Swedish. We have
Penelope Mitchell and Freya Tingis.
Australian, and yeah, Freya's Australian, and Dougray, who's Scottish, and so it goes on and on.
Landon's Canadian.
Landon's Canadian. Some people
Are
even...
there Americans in the cast? I don't believe so.
We are very
Lorenzo
few
Izzo
Americans.
is Chilean.
Lily Taylor's American.
Lily Taylor.
And Joel.
Well,
Should
we
we do
wanted
some
to...
questions?
Yeah, we wanted to open this up, take the opportunity. If there are questions, if not, Peter can continue on. So...
There's one at the back there.
Don't be shy.
Because I'm blind, so I cannot...
There's no stupid questions, only stupid answers.
Netflix kind of used data mining in some of the process that they brought to both developing the story and casting and putting it together. And I was just curious, was there anything similar when you were putting together Hemlock Grove?
Well, the data that we were told, I mean, I can't speak on behalf of Netflix. I know that they have statistics for everything. They know, certainly who's watching the shows, how many people are watching, how far they get in the episodes. And we knew that they were very excited about Famke. Like, Famke was something that they were just excited about, period. But I know for me, they knew exactly how many people had rented my movies and how many people were streaming my films and how much they could target it. But in terms of the casting, they really let that determine our tastes and let us just go with whoever really was the best actor.
Yeah, there's one down here in the front.
Hello. There was a session earlier on with Tim Kring talking about multi-platform stuff and all the things you can do around a world once you have it. Is that something that's on your mind, thinking about how people can kind of get into the world through other devices or other platforms? Or are you thinking of this as purely as a watching TV experience?
Well, I love when you have an experience and there's a global community around it. So I think that's certainly something that we've all talked about, and making Hemlock Grove a global community. But the people are watching it. They're going to watch, like, everyone's going to watch it at once. So we want to make sure that we build an environment where they can all go and talk about it. People will be tweeting about it, the Facebook pages, but also giving people bonus material, giving them more to sink their teeth into, giving them backstory. We wanted to set up Tumblr pages of every single character so that you could look at all of their photo journals, so that you could really, really, actually when we sat down and started writing the scripts, we thought, okay, let's completely write out Roman, the character Bill Skarsgård, what is his Tumblr page? So you sit down, you watch the show, you're totally obsessed with it, you read the book, but you really, really want to go further into the world. Creating those social media accounts for those characters as if those characters existed, and creating a way and a platform and a base for those fans to communicate directly so that they have something to talk about and mine and keep going through. That's something we've certainly discussed and implemented.
Any more?
More questions?
More questions.
Don't be shy. Speak honestly.
I mean, I'll throw in one there for Eli if these guys are too shy. You sort of allude to the fact that there's more than just season one. Have you sort of mapped out a plan for how it could run in the future?
Yeah, and that was one of the fun things was, sitting there and thinking about where does this mythology go? And actually, when I worked for David Lynch, I had long discussions with him about Twin Peaks and sort of what happened in season 2, and he told me that the network, the whole deal that he made with Mark Frost, with the network, was they were never going to solve the murder of Laura Palmer. It was always an excuse to just go further into the weird goings-on in the town. And by the end of season 1, the network was people were so frustrated they weren't going to solve it. They're like, you have to solve it. So he looked at the dailies and saw his set dresser, Frank Silver, in the mirror in a reflection in one of the shots. And then he's like, oh, that's Bob. Bob's the killer. Like, it was literally that. That's how they solved Twin Peaks, was the set dresser was like trying to hide in a shot behind a dresser, and they were looking at the dailies, and the TP's like, oh, we fucked it up. We gotta and then he's like, no, that's Bob. He lives behind the dresser, and he comes in at night, and suddenly, that was it. It was literally that. So we wanted to be a little bit more careful than that. I mean, I love Killer Bob. I think Bob's one of my favorite killers. I love Fire Walk With Me, but we didn't want to have a crew member accidentally in a reflection in the shot and be like, oh, he's the werewolf. So we really, really thought carefully about where the story was going to go and making it more than just monster vampire. That we knew that is only going to go so far. That's a lead in. We also know the comparisons are going to be inevitable. I mean, Brian started writing the novel before Twilight. He's been working on this for 6 years, and we feel like it's definitely completely stands totally separate. I think people who love that universe, that want something harder and more adult, are going to love it. But it's also, there's a whole complete mythology of the White Tower and who's really behind it and what's it really creating that really, really leads you into season 2. And what's great about it is I can come up with endless monsters and mutations. I can think of endless horrible things to do to people, and it's just like, oh, that comes out of that floor, that floor. It's like the White Tower becomes like my brain. So we used the novel as season 1, but season 2, we're just gonna, we can go wild.
It sounds like you're gonna get even more weird.
Yes.
Good, good.
We like weird. And weird questions, if anyone has weird questions. For myself, or the lovely Famke Janssen.
I'm just curious if Netflix has told you what kind of time frame there would be before greenlighting a second season, how they evaluate when all the episodes are released at once.
Yes.
There's a contract. Yeah,
Katie O'Connell, Gaumont Television, ladies and gentlemen.
Who asked the question? Oh, okay. No. No, Netflix sort of contractually, as you know, we have deals with actors and the creative staff. So by contract, there is a certain time period in which they, like any network show or any show would have a time frame. They're incredibly excited about it. One of the things and methodologies of Netflix is, they don't necessarily feel the need to reveal all of the mechanisms for why they make those decisions. House of Cards was originally conceived as a 26-episode order split into 2 seasons. So we're probably going to be the first of their original series that they sort of rendered that decision. I can tell you they're incredibly excited about it, and we're incredibly excited. We're looking forward to talking to them about the creative construct of season 2, and we'll sort of see. But we'll know, hopefully before the middle of the summer at the latest.
I actually went to Ted Sarandos' kid, Tony, who's like 15,
Ted is the head of
Netflix, and I was like, Tony, what'd you think? He's like, dude, that was fucking awesome. I'm like, all right, we're good. And then I asked.
Yeah, he was working all the kids.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's like talking to Ted and this. I'm like, no, this is how it gets done. I'm like, what'd you think, dude? He's like, dude, that was fucking awesome. That was sick. The transmission was amazing. And then I went to Jonathan Friedland's 14-year-old son. I'm like, what do you think? And he's like, I got to tell you, I think that the smoking is great. I have never seen that in a TV show, and it's fucking awesome. He's like, my friends who are into this, they're gonna love it. And then the 14-year-old looks at me and goes, I think you'll go season 2. I was like, all right. As long as the 2 kids of like the CEO and CFO, like as long as they're into the series, I feel pretty confident.
I mean, that's official, right?
Okay. That's a renewal right there.
If you got the heads of the company's teenage boys totally into the show, then I don't know what more of an endorsement you want.
Have you got one more clip?
Yeah, are there any other questions?
Are there questions before?
We can show the trailer, and then we may have a few more minutes if you want to ask any technical questions. It's a really cool trailer. Eli, do you want to set it up?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Katie O'Connell.
Of course.
You're about to see a trailer from Hemlock Grove. No, this is the transformation scene, or a sort of a cut-down version of it. We don't want to give away every bit of guts and gore, but I wanted this to be like the ultimate transformation. We wanted people to really lose their minds when they saw it. And we actually premiered it online, and we already had like Twilight fans. People were going, that was the fucking craziest thing I've ever seen. So people are freaking out. And one of the things, I think that this is actually representative of the show, because I think people have, just from whatever idea, people have a very clear idea of what they think it is. And what's really fun about the show is letting people think that it's going to be that kind of show and totally fucking with them and taking a left turn and defying expectations. And that's something that we really tried to do all the way throughout the season, so that by the time you get to the later episodes, people have absolutely no idea where the story is going. So thank you all for coming, and enjoy this clip.
fucking kidding me?
So as Eli said, that's a little bit of a cut down of that, but it kind of gives you the energy of the show. Are there any other last questions? If not, we thank you all for coming. And do you have any parting words?
Yes. In season 2, you're going to figure out how the eyes grow back, because that's everyone's first question. Is how does eyes grow back? That's a season 2. That I've already got that planned out. But thank you guys. Thanks for giving us something new and different a chance. We appreciate it.
I'd also like to thank Sheila Morris and Tim Farish, our head of marketing and head of publicity, for putting this on, and also Christophe Riandi, who is the head of Gaumont Paris, head of film, animation, and my boss, is here as well. So thank you guys for putting this. And Richard Franke, my partner. So thank you.
Merci. Au revoir.
Merci.